Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
This is your host, Alicia Debrell from Insight Media. Today's guest is Marian V. Asano. He helps coaches, consultants, and service providers productize their business through sales funnels and the newest lead generation methods, and overall outreach through an infinite power of digital marketing. Marian is also a 2 Comma Club winner, which I'm excited to hear about that. Well, without further ado, I want to welcome Marian to the show. Hi, Marian. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alicia. Thanks a lot for having me.
I like what you do, and I'm intrigued by it. And I think it's very educational for any entrepreneur or service provider out there. So this is a very interesting interview just because you've managed to accomplish some pretty amazing things, and now you're offering your expertise as a service. Can you give us a little background on yourself and tell us how you basically got to this point?
Sure, yeah. So I'll be happy to do it. I'll probably just going to give you the short version of it, because if not, we can spend a couple hours in here. But anyway, so again, thanks a lot for having me. My name is Marian. And my story starts about 5.5-ish years ago when I immigrated to the United States. I'm originally from Europe, Romania, a small country. You know, the first 2 years of me getting here, you know, I could tell that it was pretty tough at the beginning, right? So getting used with a new culture, understanding, you know, how a new country works and, you know, everything that comes along with it from an immigrant standpoint. I worked in a couple, local businesses out here, and I had the chance to kind of compare. Like, my background was back home in marketing, so from the time that I started working in these companies, I kind of watched, you know, what the company was doing from a marketing standpoint compared to the European world, right? So after a while, like I said, after like 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I decided to start my first business. That was a local transportation company, and taking what I've learned from the time that I got to the States, and then with my my background in marketing, I decided to go all into it, right? And I understood like pretty fast that if you're not online, doesn't really matter what you sell. If your customers don't hear about you, I mean, it doesn't matter at all how good you are. If people don't know about your service or your product, you basically don't exist, right?
Sure.
So shortly after that, that company transitioned into a concierge type of style where people were requesting different kind of services. We had some partners, we had some different service providers that we started a model. For example, we transformed into a lead generation platform for other service providers, right? As soon as I understood the sales funnel concept, everything literally changed. I would say, I like to say it overnight, but it was over like a 1 year period of time. But I like to say it overnight because everybody says, "Oh, it's an overnight success story." So nobody sees what's going on behind the scenes. How many times you had to test, a couple of things, sales over the phone, and things like that. So soon after that, as soon as I understood this concept of sales funnels and how these can literally apply to any kind of business, it only took me a couple of months to scale it to a 7-figure business. Of course, it's not something that you just plug and play and it happens overnight. Like I mentioned, you have to develop a couple other skills along the way. So for example, all right, you need to make sure you know who you want to serve. You need to make sure you hone in into that one thing that you sell before you decide to scale. So everybody's talking about, oh, how do you get to 7 figures? Well, have you sold $10,000 per month worth of service or products before you even talk about the 7-figure mark, right? So as soon as I understood those concepts, it was easy to implement them and then get the results, right? So you mentioned here that now I'm offering my expertise as a service. I'm one of the people that I strongly believe you should never sell your expertise if you never implement it yourself. Like, I hate to say it, but the market is oversaturated with people that sell information products without them doing it, like, period.
No, I've come across a couple.
Yeah, so that was the thing that literally got me into the 2 Comma Club with ClickFunnels, and I know you mentioned that at the beginning. So I gave you the short story version of it. Like I said, I like to say that it's overnight, but it's definitely not. It was over like a year, between 1 year and 2 years, with all the failures, for example, right? So testing different services over the phone, testing different kind of strategies and like how to use, because it's a whole different set of skills when you sell a $1,000 product versus when you sell a $10,000 product, right? It's a whole different set of skills that you need to master.
So a lot of people know very little, if anything, about marketing funnels or the importance of them in their business. Can you explain this process and basically dumb it down for us and explain how the process works?
Sure. Essentially, funnels have been around for a while now. And the easiest example that I usually show to my clients every single time when somebody has, no idea about this concept is the McDonald's model. So, for example, even now, when you were going to McDonald's and ask for a burger, the first question that somebody would ask you would be, would you like fries with that? If you'd say no, they'll ask you, would you like a Coke? Would you like, a large portion of it? Would you like, to add dessert, maybe a coffee or something like that? So that's essentially a sales funnel in the offline world. What's happening now is transitioning that into the online environment. That person that's asking for fries and Coke and a large portion or things like that has transitioned into a video sales letter. So I want to give you a quick example. Let's say you are an author and you want to give your book for free as a PDF. You give that PDF for free, people download it, and on the thank you page, on the next step in the funnel, you basically can upsell your first part of the funnel, right? So what you do is you can sell your audio version of the book, and then you can also upsell a video course maybe around your book and other things like that. Like, you need to understand what's the next logical step in the process. So in the McDonald's world, the next step in the process after you ask for a burger would be fries, Coke, dessert, and things like that. So every company needs to come up with their own, it's called value ladder. So what it is that people would like to get from you once they decide to buy. So as soon as you identify a buyer, you need to really think about how you can offer more value. And of course, offering more value, you got to ask for more money, right? Like, you got to upsell and downsell and cross-sell different kinds of services or products. So that's, I would say, in my opinion, it's a simple way to explain sales funnels.
Now, I know when we spoke, you told me that you help your clients get to that 7-figure mark with their business. I mean, that's a pretty bold claim to have. How are you able to accomplish this?
So basically, since I've done it for myself before, I have a process of doing that. Now, of course, that doesn't happen overnight. They still need to do the work. But because we have a process of implementing everything, and this can apply in different ways to different businesses, right? Now, for example, we usually work with companies that are already established and they already have a level of sales. So, for example, somebody that is at least selling, their service or product. So, for example, if it's a coach that is selling their service between $5,000 to $10,000 a month, it's so much easier to implement our process and our system to get it to the next level. So to 10x that sales number per month to get to the level to our. So it's pretty simple. So for example, if you are selling $1,000 service, $1,000 product, you need 1,000 clients multiplied by $1,000. It's $1 million, right? So it's a pretty simple formula, but in the same time, we have our process and our systems to implement this. So we have a playbook. We have a couple of things that we run these businesses through to get them to that level. But again, it's still, work that needs to be done by them. It's still, a process and a journey to follow. It's not something that it happens overnight.
So you can't just turn it on like a switch.
Well, it's kind of like a switch because we need to remember, as long as you are clear, because that's the biggest problem that we see with all the businesses that we work with. A lot of people try to sell too many things at once, especially at the beginning, right? Everybody's excited about their product and service, but we need to focus on one thing at a time and then scale once we automate a specific process to be able to get to the 7-figure mark.
No, that totally makes sense. I think there's a lot of people out there that they think the market is completely saturated and they're late to the party and they're going to spend more money to get sales and that it wouldn't be worth it. Do you see a lot of this, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I run most of my business to this concept. Whoever can spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. So how is the process of doing that? And the easiest way to do it, especially if you are, a new business to the market, is through sales funnels. So for example, if you are not backed by, different kind of investments from partners and investors and things like that, you need to focus a lot on making sure that you know and you are specific to who your target audience is. So, of course, it's hard to come up with a new service that nobody has offered it before. It's even harder to come up with a product that really nobody, like, all these things are out there. The only thing is you got to focus on how you differentiate yourself, what's your unique selling proposition and who exactly is your ideal customer and how you can serve them, at the highest level. And then work backwards from that, right? Like if you know for a fact that you want to sell a package that costs somebody $3,000 per month, you got to work backwards from that, right? If you're asking me if somebody's late to the party, I don't think it's such a thing. It's just people, they give up too soon and they don't implement the right strategies at the right time.
I completely agree. I think I've done that, fallen into that trap once or twice before. So, lesson learned. What types of industries do you see that has the most success with this? And can your methods work with any type of business, or are there cases that it's not a good fit?
So, for instance, we work now with coaches, consultants, service providers, and also authors, right? This is it's not just one industry, but these are the easiest ones to impact as soon as possible because you can easily, market their service and their products online and reach a really large number of people. Because, for example, if you're selling your service online, you don't need to just sell to people in the United States. You can sell to Canada, you can sell to Australia, New Zealand, UK, essentially all the English-speaking countries, right? You're not blocked, for example, versus a local business that can only sell, around their zip code or, things like that. It's so much easier to impact these industries. Now, the methods that we apply could essentially work with any kind of local business as well. People need to remember that I actually started local before I was able to scale it. But in the same time, for a local business, it would take a little more time to get to the 7-figure mark. I got to put a big if in here. If they're only selling around, their zip code. So, for example, if somebody's selling a service that, has a lot of overhead and has a lot of, for example, vehicles or stuff like that, it's hard to expand online in terms of selling that service to a large number of people versus somebody that's selling an info product. It's a whole different story, right? Because you can easily scale it to webinars, to sales funnels, to a lot of other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. So take us through what a typical engagement is with you. I mean, do your clients typically come to you to fix an existing funnel, or do you generally, help them or will scratch what they're doing and start from the beginning?
Sure, yeah. So the easiest way to explain this would be most of our clients come to us because they want to move their business from offline to online. And let me explain what I mean. So a lot of coaches or consultants are usually selling their service through one-on-one consultations, like in person, maybe seminars or, lunch and learn type of mini events. So what we do is, we really hone down into understanding who they want to serve. So oftentimes the biggest problem is that people don't have an exact audience and they just try to serve everybody. So it's not necessarily just one funnel that is implemented because it's an entire strategy, right? So taking somebody from offline and taking somebody from an offline environment that is selling most of the service one-on-one, like in person, it's so much easier to scale when you bring that online and you're just going to book, different Skype or Zoom consultations where you can easily sell a higher ticket, right? So for example, one of our clients now, she's a health coach and most of her business, like literally 95% of her business is in person. So now we are taking her entire business and we transition it into an online course. And the difference with her is she already has an audience. She already has a lot of printed workbooks and recipes and things like that. So we put all those online. It's so much easier to sell it to a larger audience. So if you're asking me if we are fixing an existing funnel, yes, we do that as well. But 9 out of 10 times we work with coaches, consultants, authors, or service providers that are selling and they're kind of locked into that offline environment.
So do you just initially work with them and just to set everything up, or do you work with them long term?
No, usually our programs varies between, 3 months is the minimum and it goes all the way to like a year or, above. We also have a membership site that is going to be launched next month, but most of our packages start at 3 months and they go all the way to 1 year or even, more than that. It all depends, how much they need to scale, but it all depends on what level in their business they are, right? Because somebody that's just generating, $5,000 a month versus somebody that's already making, let's say, $50,000 a month, it's a different set of strategies that we need to apply and maybe a different audience that needs to be decided on and things like that. But yeah, to simplify the answer would be between 3 months to a year.
Okay. So for those of us who are a little bit familiar with ClickFunnels or funnels in general, they may be wondering how working with you will give better results than using some of the templates and some of the free funnels that are out there that people are pushing. I mean, obviously the difference is if they're pushing it out to that particular person, they're pushing it out to thousands of people to use the same funnel. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So like you mentioned, templates are out there, right? Like everybody can either get a couple of templates for free or buy, a template for $100 to $200, $300, $400, $500. The biggest thing that separates me and my team is the strategy, right? So if all those templates would work for, any kind of service provider or, coach or consultant, everybody would get to where they want to be, right? So the biggest thing that separates us, me and my team, is making sure we apply the right strategy, right? So we would not just start working on something. We would spend, usually between, again, depending on what level in the business they are, between the first day up to like even a week, just without even maybe looking at the funnel, just working a lot on the strategy. So we need to really think about and brainstorm on the strategy before we start implementing, right? Because as soon as we have the right strategy in place, it's easier to test different kind of funnels and templates and everything, and then, traffic sources and things like that. But if you don't have the right strategy, you can implement things that would not get results, right? And of course, after we narrow down the strategy, speed of implementation matters a lot too. So I guess that is where we separate from the rest of the crowd.
Okay. So one of the main thoughts that I have is the funnels are only as good as the traffic that's coming into them. So do you help with your clients finding the right marketing channels? Is that all part of the setup and the targets? And how do you go about that?
Of course. So we would not just guess on somebody else's budget, right? So if somebody comes, and actually it's a pretty good question. I had a workshop 2 weeks ago and two persons asked me, because I was talking about, YouTube ads and Google AdWords and Facebook ads and Instagram and Snapchat. And somebody asked me, all right, but how do we know what's the best strategy for this? So, we are funnel hackers. So what we do is in the strategy time that we get all the information from our clients, part of the information that we need is also between 5 to 10 of the biggest competitors that they have, right? So if somebody's just starting out, the easiest way to do it is not reinvent the wheel, but take a look at who's the best on the market and how is that person generating their clients and their sales. So, we're not romantic on what traffic source we use. Is if we take a look at 5 of the best competitors and we see that all of them are using YouTube ads, we're not going to get just stressed out and think, oh no, we got to do Facebook ads. No, if that person is getting results and they are where our client wants to be, then of course we got to focus on using YouTube ads, right? So we basically hack. We're not copying, we're hacking the competition. And then from there, of course, we need to make sure we make our offers and our clients' offers much better than the competitors.
Well, I think that one of the biggest problems with businesses that aren't too marketing savvy, I guess you would call it, is that they don't have any metrics in place to show what's working, what's not, and they aren't, experimenting and tweaking to get the maximum out of their campaigns. Would you agree with that? And is that an area that you help with, or?
Yes, exactly. That's actually, related to the previous question is, the strategy, like we always start with making sure we measure what the biggest competitors of theirs are doing, right? So again, we look at what kind of traffic sources they use. We can even see what kind of ads they're running. We can even see like everything, right? Everything is measurable nowadays. Like I can even look at some of the competitors and see how many visitors they get to those pages per month. Where is that coming from? So they're from there. Most, I would say 9 out of 10 businesses don't do that. So if you're not looking at the competitors' traffic sources and strategies, you are literally wasting money on just thinking and hoping on what's working and what's not, right? But if you see somebody that has success and they're definitely doing the right thing, I mean, you should never just try to change that. You should just model it and make your offer better, right? Make your unique selling proposition better than theirs. And then just go from there. So a lot of businesses don't pay attention to that. A lot of them don't even know that that's out there, that's possible. You can even use free tools and things like that. So, but everything is even on YouTube. If you go and just literally type how to hack somebody's competitors, you can find information in there. But a lot of people, I think they're just too much in love with what they sell, and they don't pay attention to the strategy that would actually bring them the sales. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I've seen it. And my next question, you kind of already answered, but I just want to clarify. So you work with people who are just out of the gate, and you work with people who are established, but they're trying to, go next level with their business and not work, in it and more on it. You work with both of those, correct?
So, like I said, we have a process of implementing. So usually I would say 8 out of 10 businesses that we work with are already established. Now, the ones that are just starting out, we have a free training for them, and we really need them to go to that training to actually understand what are the basics, what are the actual, things that work today, and, how to do different things that are literally much easier for them to understand themselves at the beginning. So, because it's so much different for somebody that's just starting out to invest, money in working with us versus somebody that's already making, a 6-figure income from the business. So that's why these two sectors, usually if somebody's just starting out and they come to us, we have this free training that we have them go through. And then once they go through that, it's usually between 3 days to like a week, I would say. And then once they go through that, it's easier to start and take their business to the next level, right? So somebody that's just starting out, they go to that training and then they say, okay, now I understand exactly what you do and how do you do it. Now I want to move forward and work with you guys. And from May, we're actually opening a membership version of our training where somebody can actually join us once a week. And, it's going to be live Q&A. There's going to be a lot of guests involved. So every month we have a different topic. For example, we have a guest talking about personal branding. 1 month is messenger bots, another month, and all that type of stuff. So the sector that's just starting out is probably going to fit much better in that bucket, I would say, for the first 3 months until they actually understand what's their offer and what's, their audience and everything that comes along with it.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you believe hold people back from basically going in on marketing? I mean, is it fear? Is it failure? Is it money? Fear of success?
So I think the biggest problem is the following. Somebody that's just starting out, they are going to start looking at their competitors, and they think they are at a level that they're never going to reach, right? But here's the reason why that happens. They're going to try to, get on their email list. They're going to try to watch their videos and things like that. So what happens next step is those competitors, because they are at that level, they know what they're doing. So they're going to retarget all these people that are trying to watch them. So by doing that, everybody thinks that, oh my God, like they invest so much money into this. Like, I'm not going to be able to never do this. So they kind of drag themselves down just by watching what's going on and thinking a little bit, I would say, like negative too quick, right? So it's not necessarily the fear of failure, but it's always a thing that they think they're never going to reach that level. And, at the end of the day, we all have the same shot. Now, yes, some people have it differently, some people don't. But I'm always giving me as an example, it always works. And I tell them, look, I came here with zero cash. Well, I had about $150 in my pocket when I landed. So if I'm able to do it, trust me, I can teach you or I can help you how to do it too. So don't bring any excuses because it's not going to work. So
I like it.
I'm usually straight out with everybody that works for me because nobody wants to waste any time. So as simple as that, that's usually my response to anybody that says, yeah, but I don't have the money. I didn't have it either. So let's just get to work. So that's that.
All right. So tell me this. What about speaking? If a company or maybe somebody holding an event would like you to come in to speak at an event, do you do that?
Yes. So the easiest way to request that service of mine is if somebody goes to my website, marianvasano.com, and I can spell it MARIAN V as Victor, Asano, ESANU.com /speaking. I have a form in there. Anybody can request, the speaking that we ask for. We just try to filter the events that we speak at. But yes, I'm definitely open to help, different audiences, with my story, of course, helping them understand the entire concept and everything that comes along with, this entrepreneurship and the online world.
Okay. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would love to get more information about you and even talk to you if possible. So do you do any consultations and do you charge for them?
Usually we take about up to 15 free new consultations every month. That's just so much free time in a month. So what we do is if somebody goes to, again, it's my website, marianvasano.com /cheat sheet. It's actually a process in that it's my 7-figure workbook. Not too long ago, I launched that and we got some really good feedback from it. It's literally the 10-step that you can take your business, understand how to apply those concepts that I talked about, how to narrow down your audience, how to understand what you're trying to offer, build your value ladder, and everything else. It's a 10-step with a bunch of things in there to download. So then everybody that goes through that, they can apply to get a free coaching session from us. But again, it's only up to 15 new clients every month.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or your team, how would they go about doing that?
So the easiest way to do it, you can either go to my website, which is marianvasano.com, and either hit the contact form, or again, I would highly suggest everybody that's in the field, coach, a consultant, a service provider, an author, go and get my workbook because it's something that's really the process that we take our clients through. But of course, we hold their hand through a process. Now, they can literally get access to that by going to marianvasano /cheat sheet. They can download it from there. And then, of course, by doing that, they got to go on my email list and they got to be able to apply for a free 50-minute consultation as well.
Marian, so being a 2 participant with ClickFunnels is pretty huge. And you've given us a lot of really valuable information and you were completely honest. And I love the fact that you're basically teaching from experience because you came here with nothing. There's no excuses. Just get it done. And I love that attitude.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it. And like you said, it's really no excuse. Everybody can do it. We all have the same shot.
No, yeah, I totally agree. All right, guys. Well, you just heard from Marian Asano, and his information will be down here in the show notes. And this is your host, Alicia Debrell from Insight Media. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.